Hi. Good morning. We are here. I made it by 8:16. Sorry for a little bit later today. Better late than never, as they say, right? Did you read your paper yet? I'm just obviously taking mine out of the bag now, so. It's an exciting part of the day to be able to take a look at what the Inquirer is going to be today. We have the New York Times. Little moist. Got a little wet, I guess, outside through the plastic. But it shielded the Inquirer from also getting a slight dousing. So we have a nice dry Inquirer to look through today. And here it is. Do you want to just get right to separating sections? Let's just get moving on it. Okay? Because that's how we're going to do it. We're going to move through this today. I don't know if you've read your Inquirer yet. If not, read it now. I'll read it now, and you can just kind of sit back and be like, okay, I'm going to take the easy way out and let him read it for me. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to read the paper for you. Can I just say, and listen, let me just say, I'm not the only one that gets ahead of the trends. However, I have noticed since starting this little enterprise that, here's life, by the way. I don't know if I'm showing it. I'm getting distracted by my little diatribe. I've noticed that I'm kind of like, when I say some things will come up through these reads, and then I'll check a little bit later on in the day, look through the trends, look through the Twitter, what's trending. I'll be like, oh, I talked about that today at the read. Oh, I talked about that today during the read. What I'm saying is I'm ahead of the trend. Or should I say the newspapers are ahead of the trends? Or should I say the newspapers help predict the trends, or go to the trends, or cover the trends? Either way, you should probably watch this show every day, because you're going to get ahead of the trends. And all you need to do is just sit back. Just sit back and watch. It's very simple. I do all the heavy lifting. All right. Let's get to sports. Flyers won last night. 5-3. JVR looking good. James Van Riemsdyk, like, he is. He's looking pretty good. I mean, lately, this season. I'm not saying that it's young. It's young. But my personal opinion, which it does all that really matters, because this is my show. My personal opinion is he looks pretty good. Flyers veteran, JVR, showed the way in a win over New Jersey. Giroux chipped in 2 assists. Now, we talked about this yesterday. Talked about G yesterday. He actually, yesterday, became the longest tenured Flyers captain, passing Bobby Clark. What does that mean? On the day that he became the longest tenured captain, he had 2 assists. It's a pretty good, it's ironic coincidence. Right? Captains kind of help others. He had 2 assists. So, we know they won 5-3. We don't need to go too much into that. Also, Phillies fans out there might be happy to see that JT Signed a 5-year, $115 million deal. Highest annual value for a catcher in baseball history. $23.1 million per season. There he is. I mean, he's happy. This is pre-signing a $110+ million contract. He's smiling. I mean, his smile is going to fall off his face now. I mean, he's going to be like, how much happier can you get? I don't know. I don't know what it's like to receive that kind of a contract, so. But my guess is he's pretty excited about it. His contract surpassed former twin Joe Mauer's $23 million. It was his goal this winter to land a deal that raised the market for future catchers. He achieved that. All right, JT. I'm curious about JT's stats. They call him the best catcher in baseball. I'm not saying I disagree. I mean, I don't honestly know the ins and outs of catchers in baseball. Like, I can't recite the catchers in order. Not that kind of a in-depth baseball fan. But I am curious about his stats. I may not locate them, of course, because sometimes it's difficult. Okay, here we go. Discovered. Two seasons with the Phillies. Realmuto has led all catchers in RBIs and wins above replacement, WAR. He was tied last season for the most home runs among catchers and had the third highest on-base plus slugging percentage. He was the team's lone all-star in 19, and has the highest WAR over the last 2 seasons. I guess that's a good thing. Clearly the Phillies and others think so. They gave him $115 million. So, I didn't see this, that the Caris LaVert, Pacers guard, out indefinitely after undergoing surgery to treat a cancerous growth on his left kidney. 26-year-old LaVert expected to make a full recovery. Pacers said no additional treatment is needed. Doctors found the small mass during a routine post-trade physical and immediately conducted additional tests. LaVert was part of the blockbuster deal that sent James Harden from Houston to Brooklyn, then was dealt by the Rockets to Indiana for Victor Oladipo. Wow. Just a routine check. You know? Almost a perfunctory thing for a trade. And what happens? You know? Lakers play the Sixers tonight. 7:30. Headline, Lakers a challenge after a soft schedule. All right. I'll watch that game. Should we go on? Looks like another Eagle coach is leaving the nest, as they like to say. For the Lions, joining Deuce Staley, Dave Phipp, Eagles special teams coordinator, headed to Detroit to take charge of the Lions special teams. Good. I agree. Schilling says this about himself. Take me off the hall ballot. Yeah. The controversial former ace fell short of making it to Cooperstown again, so did everyone else this time. Schilling, on-field accomplishments face little dispute, but he has ostracized himself from retirement by directing hateful remarks toward Muslims, transgender people, journalists, and others. Quote, "It's all right. The game doesn't owe me anything," the former Phillies ace said during a live video stream on his Twitter account. Bonds, 61.8%, and Clemens, 61.8%, made minimal gains and joined Schilling in falling short of their 9th tries. Both face suspicions of performance-enhancing drug use. Schilling's, back to Schilling, punk. He wrote on Facebook that he has asked the Hall of Fame to remove his name from next year's ballot. Hall of Fame Board Chairman James Forbes Clark said in a statement that the board will, quote, consider the request at our next meeting. Was he threatening? Take me off the ballot. Or else. Cool. In my opinion. Again, this is all my opinion. A good amount. Some of it's, factual for the reading it from the paper, but some of the editorializing, some of the asides, is all mine. Weather. You see today's weather in your area? Or in our area, if you're in the Philadelphia region? 43 today, mostly cloudy. Got a decent week ahead. At least you say the weekend. Looking nice. It's kind of cold, but I like to see that sun. Bright sunshine, right? Encouraging. Today's sunset. 5:15. All right. We can move on from sports, I think. Right? Let's get to, let me get to life. Can we do life together? You like life? You okay with living? I'm tired this morning. Anybody else tired? Anybody else a little beat? Looking for my little cheat sheet here. Life section. Yeah, I did see that CBS put execs on leave after claims of racism, sexism. 2 CBS executives have been placed on administrative leave following a Los Angeles Times report that they allegedly, quote, cultivated a hostile work environment that included bullying female managers and blocking efforts to hire and retain black journalists. Peter Dunn, president of the CBS television stations, and David Friend, senior VP News for the TV stations, have been placed on admin leave, pending the results of a third-party investigation into issues that include those raised in the recent LA Times report, the company announced a statement. Dunn, a former general manager at CBS, quote, maintains a tight grip on the stations and has final say over which local anchors and reporters appear on CBS, according to current and former employees in court testimony, wrote the Times. Since the Times story appeared Sunday, quote, the number of messages of support I have received, meaning I, Margaret Cronin, former CBS 3 Vice President of News, have received so humbling, and my prayer is that with all of that support behind that effort, we will see change. We will work, and we will see workplaces that are no longer racist, discriminatory, and downright offensive. Oh, Parent Trip column today. If you like the Parent Trip, it's got a nice little local feature column. Takes a couple parents, says, hi, these are parents. They just had a kid. You want to get to know them? Here you go. Here's your chance. I kind of think it's nice. This is what local news is all about. This is why we all have to support local news, because you're not going to find this type of stuff just, in other types of news reports. You need to go local. Because there they are. Parent Trip. Nice to meet people from your neighborhood, right? Say hi. Oh, look. Regular folks having kids, living their life. Sarah Drake and Ben Drake of Glenside. Lucy Aberdeen is the children. She's 3. And Martha Clementine, born July 28th. Martha, interesting. You don't hear that name much anymore. Martha. If you want to read more about Mr. and Mrs. Drake and their children, as well as Mr. Drake's maybe guitar career, he's got a little guitar with him here. Knock yourself out. Inquirer.com. What do you think? Let's do it. Should we do it? CAROLYN time. Reading advice columns. CAROLYN time. What is she going to say about somebody's question? What's her take? CAROLYN Hacks writes a advice column for my avid followers and fans, and we read it every day. And this is the part of the time when we do it. So let's go. Question. Do you have any advice to help me get less irritated at little things? I've been like this for many years, but I do think the pandemic has made it worse. I try my best not to take this out on anyone else, and I can often talk myself down after the fact, but I really wish I could not get irritated in the first place. I am already in therapy for the overall anxiety issues. CAROLYN says, I expect the two are connected, the anxiety and the irritation. Anxiety lives in the gap between what you have and what you fear. Irritation lives in the gap between what you have and what you want. Overcoming both involves finding peace with what you have, so your work in therapy will likely mitigate both problems over time. But here's something to try in the meantime. Imagine for a moment how you feel when you're late for a meeting and you miss your train. All right, you got that in your head? Okay. Now imagine the same missed train when you aren't late for anything. I'm guessing the difference is pronounced? And in the latter case, you're much calmer and more accepting? When you're dealing with irritation over small things, it can be helpful to think of this difference. Since you will never, ever achieve a state of being that doesn't include missed trains, figuratively speaking, your only option for stress reduction is to work on the other side of the equation, the calm perception side, where you accept what you can't control. So what can you do to break out of the, quote, late state of mind? How can you manage your schedule, moods, expectations toward approximating the state of mind of people who can calmly occupy themselves till the next train comes, still figuratively speaking, instead of freaking out? There are many ways to do this, and you can use as many as you think apply. For example, now, this could apply to you. What's going on with your life? That's why CAROLYN, she's a good one. She's incisive. Okay? Here's some examples. Expect little things will go wrong, so you aren't surprised or let down when they do. Or give yourself extra time or leeway, especially for things you know are stressful. You can plan your responses ahead too. Bring a book for when you're stuck in a waiting room, or repeat a mantra or breathing exercise, or stretch, or take a walk. You can plan ahead for when people irritate you too. A hard look at your own flaws and how others put up with them, whether out of fondness for you or their own general sense of decency, can clear a path to your showing them the same forgiveness. And you can prepare for when you're annoyed at yourself. Since whatever self-maddening thing you just did is already in the past, make a deliberate choice to refocus yourself on what comes next. Your next step, your next hour, your next day. Keep making this choice to refocus until it becomes habit. Stuff happens is the DNA in each of these strategies. The people who accept the inevitability of small irritations up front and bigger risks if we fold the anxiety in too are the ones whose definitions of happiness, success, beauty, good fortune, art, love, and virtually everything else worth having have an allowance for stuff built in. There's no other perfect, if only to block your view of what you actually have. Deep Thoughts by CAROLYN Hacks. Okay, we got through today's CAROLYN's advice column, and now we move on to another bogus Scorpio horoscope. Although I will say, I will say, in recent days, something's gone on with Madeline Aslan, who provides these horoscopes, and she's been a little bit closer to accurate. A little bit. Let's see if the trend continues. Today's Scorpio horoscope. Your acting ability and flamboyance will be expressed in your conversations and emails today. Do I seem flamboyant? I don't think so. Don't adhere too closely to old habits and ideas. New information brings a different viewpoint to the fore. Okay. Not bad. Madeline, I've been calling your columns, I've been calling my horoscopes bogus. Lately. It's not as terrible. And that concludes our life section for January 27th, 2021. Exciting, right? We're up to region now. Whoa. Right? Pretty impressive stuff, I think, to be at the region section. I like the region section, as I said before, because it's like, very apropos to what's happening locally. That's the point. This is an important section, in my opinion. Now, I'm just a guy. I'm just some guy on the internet. Okay, fair enough. But this guy's opinion is that the region section should be expanded. They should devote more energy in local, as they say, hyper-local, potentially, news. There's a void. There's a vacuum. That means a lot to do with resources, of course, getting reporters out to cover those local stories. But to me, it's a selling point. Do those local stories. They're countless. Countless. You can make this section double. Triple. 4 Camden schools closing. Painful but necessary. Superintendent presented a plan that a spokesperson could say could affect 150 jobs. News was met with opposition. In a sweeping move to drastically change the Camden School District, Superintendent Katrina McCombs on Tuesday announced a plan to close 4 schools, affecting about 1,200 students and leaving one neighborhood school without a traditional public school. McCombs said the 4 schools were closed at the end of the school year: Sharp Elementary, Wiggins College Preparatory Lab School, Kramer Elementary, New York Ship Elementary, and Fairview. 3 of the schools are more than a century old and all need repairs. Students who attend those schools will be guaranteed a spot in a traditional district school, McCombs said. Courtesy busing, typically provided for students who live 2 miles from their schools, also will be provided. McCombs said layoffs are likely, but it was not immediately known how many jobs will be cut. It will leave the city's Fairview neighborhood without a traditional public school. Camden currently has 19 schools that enroll 6,347 students. Want to see a graph on local COVID deaths in 2021? Sure. Killer graph. Let's see this graph. Graph time. Whoop. Sorry. What do you think about that? Sorry, I'm trying to make this better for all of us, but, I'm limited here a little bit in my production. You think? Is that too blurry still? It's in Gloucester County. Look at that. Bucks County, deaths per 100,000 residents, 18.8. Deaths were 118 January 1st to 25th in Bucks. Chester, 87 deaths from the 1st to the 25th. Delaware, 93. Montgomery County, 107. Philadelphia, 383 for a 24.2 per 100,000 resident. Burlington, 60. Camden, we were just talking about their schools, 167. They're to 33 per 100K. And Gloucester, again, 32 per 100,000. It's like a weird segue. I feel like every time I go through the local section, I end up reading about deaths, local deaths, or sadly homicides or something, and then that segues us, not intentionally, but it just does, into a calm period of time when we take a look at the OBITS. And we just visit some people that have passed recently. We just kind of take a look at them. We say, rest in peace. We give them their due. Why shouldn't we? They lived. We're all going to pass away. It's inevitable. It may be a depressing time in the read, but it's also just a somber, factual time. So I say, let's recognize these people, just as we would like to be recognized upon our eventual passing. So, quick look here around the spread. I try to focus on the regular folk. So, for example, Gregory Sierra, 83, he was an actor on 70s sitcoms. He passed, but that's sad, of course. But this is to take a look at your average Joes and Josephines. We have Rosemary Marley, 77, of Havertown. She passed away unexpectedly, sadly, January 16th. She graduated from West Philadelphia Catholic High School for Girls in 61 and continued to be an active alumnus. After retirement, she joined the Haverford Township School District and later Marple Newtown School District as a bus aide. It brought her great joy to read to the children, celebrate birthdays, and decorate the bus for holidays. Rosemary was an active member of the Sacred Heart Church in Havertown, where she was a greeter. She took abundant pleasure in her role as a grandmother, aunt, and great-aunt. She looked forward to the summer weekends down the shore with her nieces, making baby blankets with her crochet group, and keeping up with long-distance friends and family on Facebook. She enjoyed traveling, and most memorable journey was a pilgrimage made through Europe. Rosemary's last trip was to Miami for her eldest granddaughter's wedding in February 2020. Passing away unexpectedly. I always wonder what the circumstances were there, And then you have people like Richard Segermark, who, quote, died peacefully. He was born in Chicago in 1935. He lived the rest of his life on the main line in Narberth, residing in the same home in Wayne for the last 50 years. He graduated from Lower Merion High School, home of one Kobe Bryant, you remember from yesterday, and studied industrial arts education at Millersville College. He loved sailing, skiing, and automobiles. Taught himself to ski. He was a longtime member of the Wissahickon Ski Club. He and his wife enjoyed annual trips with the club, out west and abroad. As a teenager, he built a small boat so he could learn to sail. It became a lifelong passion. Rest in peace. So now I also take a look, I will say, for the younger folk, 70 or less. He's a 67-year-old, passed away in his home, Harry Dorian. Rest in peace. Okay. Yeah, George Morris, 90, Newtown Square. Graduated from Wesleyan. Joined the U.S. the U.S. Navy. Just people. Just some people that are no longer with us. Okay. The region. Done. We made it to the front but last section of our read. Can I lean back for this? Can I lean back for front section? Just for a little bit. Just to get a little bit comfortable so I can page through this. Joe Biden signs 4 orders on racial inequities. The measures addressed housing, private prisons, and other issues. Activists cheered, but said they wanted more. The measures seek to strengthen anti-discrimination housing policies that were weakened under you-know-who. Nick's new Justice Department contracts with private prisons increase the sovereignty of Native American tribes and combat violence and xenophobia against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Okay. Okay. I've been following this stolen Pelosi laptop story with much interest and potentially glee to some extent because it's just funny to me. So, Riley Williams, she's our young 22-year-old woman who stole Pelosi's laptop. Her lawyer is saying, quote, FBI didn't recover the laptop. She does not have the computer, the lawyer told the judge as he sought to undermine the charges. Here she is. She's wearing a mask. You think she was wearing a mask when she stormed the Capitol? I don't know. Stole Pelosi's laptop? Maybe. FBI agents did not recover Speaker Nancy Pelosi's laptop from the house for a woman charged with playing a role in its theft during the Capitol riot, the woman's lawyer said Tuesday. And the fate of the computer has remained an unresolved mystery since Riley Williams, 22, surrendered to authorities last week, 2 days after they first accused her of stealing it in an attempt to sell it to the Russian security services. The plan failed. But seeking to deflate the case against this client, her public defender, A.J. Kramer, said Tuesday that investigators have since searched her car and the apartment she shares with her mother and found no trace of the missing technology. Oh, the plot thickens. Where is NP's laptop? They've searched everywhere, and she does not have the computer. Mr. Kramer told U.S. Magistrate Judge Zia M. Farquhar during a hearing in federal court in Washington. Here's a twist. It's important to keep up with these cases. Now, let me just say, it's important to follow stories from their inception to their, conclusion is really never, I guess in some certain stories, never really the case, a definitive conclusion, but the journey. And to me, I want to be clear here. Riley Williams, who allegedly stole this laptop, is saying that it remains unclear whether Pelosi's laptop was ever in her possession at all. Right? They initially accused her of taking the device, something they say she boasted about on the social media platform Discord. But during Tuesday's proceedings, they clarified that at this point they have only lodged charges against her for aiding and abetting the theft. So did she take the laptop, or did she just say that she took the laptop as a joke, as a trolling kind of move? And now she's like, shoot, I had to go on Discord and talk about this laptop. And now, she's got to defend it. Wow. Now, going back to this claim that her ex-boyfriend fabricated the outsized allegations about her conduct during the riot. I've read that earlier in other coverage of this drama. By the time the proceedings ended and after hearing Kramer's doubts about the veracity of Williams' ex's claims, Fouquet's incredulity that had seemed to fade. Originally, this read like an episode of The Americans, the judge said, referring to the popular TV show about Soviet-era spies, adding that now he found the case hard to take without further facts. So I'm saying, listen, I was the first one, and I'm going to continue to follow the story. But I thought it was kind of it was a good story. Somebody allegedly found Pelosi's laptop, took it, bragged about it on social media, like everybody else who seems to be involved in this Capitol riot, got in trouble because of it. Now she's being investigated, prosecuted, whatever. But could have it all just been a troll move? Troll's gonna troll. We will have to keep our eyes on the story. That is my commitment. Did see yesterday the CDC sees little school-based virus spread report. The agency found that the use of masks and social distancing were effective in prevention. Schools operating in person have seen scant transmission of the coronavirus, particularly when masks and distancing are employed. But some indoor athletics have led to infections and should be curtailed if schools want to operate safely, researchers from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention concluded in papers published Tuesday. Quote, the preponderance of evidence from the fall school semester has been reassuring, wrote 3 CDC researchers in a Viewpoint piece published online Tuesday in the Journal of the American Medical Association. There has been little evidence that schools have contributed meaningfully to increased community transmission. The conclusion here is with proper prevention efforts, we can keep transmission in schools and educational settings quite low, said Margaret A. Honian, the lead author of the JAMA report. It's more data points, more research, a big data point, let's say, CDC, to add to the conversation around opening schools in person for all. But it's encouraging, I would guess, right? With good prevention, we can safely reopen and keep open more schools, said Honan. All right, here's a business section kind of folded into the front section. I don't know if you were affected by the Zoom outages yesterday, other internet outages. Verizon reported a cut fiber in Brooklyn, but it wasn't clear whether that caused a disruption. Internet users across the Northeast United States reported widespread outages Tuesday. In an emailed statement 90 minutes after the outage was first reported, Verizon said that it was working on the problem hurting Via's service throughout the Northeast corridor. Yeah, there's a bunch of issues. There's like a terrible conflux of, I guess, scenarios with a lot of students and others having to be obviously on Zoom. And then, actually, you're not going to be. You're not going to be online at all. I think it's okay now. I didn't have an issue with my multiple Zoom meetings yesterday. But if you did, hopefully Zoom is up and running for you again today. And I have Comcast high-speed internet, so maybe that's why. But clearly, I have no issues with internet connection now since I'm live streaming myself reading a newspaper. Letters and OPEDs. We have made it. By 9 a.m. Lead editorial today from the editorial board. Post-insurrection reforms. It's time for a renewal of stronger ethics laws in the state and the city. There are few silver linings to come from the January 6th insurrection in Washington, D.C. Here's one. According to a survey by the Washington Post, 20 of the 30 largest corporate PAC donors to the 147 Republican lawmakers who voted against certifying the presidential election results have decided to slash their political contributions. Some have suspended donations just to those 147 officials, while others have cut off political donations entirely. Cutting off Washington legislators who defied their constitutional duty was an unusual act of corporate bravery, according to the editorial board. President Joe Biden's stated commitment to honesty and transparency provides a model for Philadelphia and Pennsylvania lawmakers to follow, and both City Council and the legislature are crying out for someone who will lead on ethics reform. The last year has shown us what happens when people lose trust in their government and other institutions. A renewed commitment to clear, consistent, and uniform ethics rules can go a long way to repair that damage. I like ethics. I appreciate moral behavior. So, yeah, my vote. All right, let's look at some people who wrote in. It got published. H. Tunney, Huntington Valley. Deb Goldsman, Philadelphia. Indigenous land becomes state park. The article on the upside on the New Jersey state once belonging to Napoleon Bonaparte's brother and now becoming a state park was fascinating. But the real story, I'll wager, is much deeper. One sentence states, quote, "This wetlands area was the most important Native American settlement east of the Mississippi. I can only wonder what sacred artifacts, memories, and struggles of these people were dug up over the years. I am truly thankful that commercial developers will not have their way with this land, yet I also pray that respect for and attention to the indigenous people who lived in Point Breeze will be memorialized and their history will be taught in this new state park." News this morning, I can't even anyone to talk about it. It's the 1776 Commission. Beverly Moskowitz. Disingenuousness of, quote, patriotic education. Touting the 1776 Commission as patriotic is like giving sole credit to a movie's headlining cast without acknowledging the contributions of the directors, set designers, script writers, etc., all the way down to local governments who approve filming on site. Obvious though it sounds, our history books have in fact done that exact thing. If anything, it's time to insert more narratives about indigenous people, women, slavery, sacrifice, and yes, the 1619 Project. That is the real history of our country. Teaching otherwise is, pardon the cliche and the pun, a true whitewashing of facts. Michael Miller, Philadelphia. Why all the calls for leniency now? Not at all surprised, after the invasion of the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C., that some Justice Department officials will be lenient. Remember how Republicans constantly complain about liberal and Democratic judges and prosecutors being soft on crime? Remember former U.S. Attorney William M. McSwain and his remarks, especially against District Attorney Larry Krasner? So how about if these federal law enforcement officials just pretend that the rioters in D.C. were black and immigrants from Central America and, I don't know, just lock them up in cages and let them rot without a second thought? They're already crying that they can't prosecute them all because there are too many of them, like maybe 800. And they'll clog the local courts. They never stopped immigration and customs enforcement. Let's just keep the status quo so things never change and pay tribute to what has served us so well since our founding. A little sarcasm at the end there, I think, Mr. Miller. Carol A. Pasquarello, rejoining climate fight. Terry Shepard from Bryn Mawr, time to bid Thiessen adieu. You know Mark Thiessen? He's like the resident conservative columnist, op-ed columnist guy for the Inky. It's like Terry Shepard says, beat it, dude. So columnist Mark Thiessen, after the January 6th insurrection, now proudly claims that he considers Joe Biden his president. This, after blindly supporting every lie and evil action of Biden's predecessor, and exorating the left for opposing them. Pisa makes clear that he will carry on Trump's practice of deception when, in a classic move of the right, he shouts, "They started it," by claiming Democrats invented unfairness in their treatment of Trump. He conveniently forgets that Mitch McConnell stated baldly that his goal was to make Barack Obama a one-term president, and then proceeded to block everything Obama tried to do. He continues to misrepresent Russia's support of Trump's election. He is, quote, disgusted by how the left treated a seditious liar. It's time for Thiessen, as well as the name Trump, to disappear from the Inquirer. Yeah, I don't even want to say. I just want to move on from Trump, like this coverage period. I agree with this. His name. I just want to. That's why we like to start saying T instead, or rump. I don't know. Whenever I read news about him, maybe I'll just like cough. Like, for example, here's an op-ed by David Lee Preston, retired Inquirer editor. Not wrong to compare to Hitler. What is David Lee Preston saying here? And then we're going to be done, because there's a couple other op-eds here, but this one is a little incendiary, so why not take a peek, huh? Many people find it offensive to use the Holocaust as a yardstick for the political excesses of the last 4 years that culminated in the storming of Washington on January 6th. They believe that to mention Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler in the same breath disrespects the millions of innocent victims and survivors, diminishing the enormity of the Nazis' crimes. As the son of a Holocaust survivors and a grandson of 4 murdered Jews, I might be expected to agree, but I do not. I think Trump's ability to incite followers under the banner of white nationalism has enabled us to better understand Hitler's sway over the Germans, connecting us to the real people in the old black and white photo images and newsreels that show the masses with arms outstretched toward their Führer. I'm going to read this yourself. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I like reading it live. I mean, I would rather just sit down and read it myself. Because look at this picture. I mean, I don't even like that they printed this picture. I'm not sure that I agree. Is that being too sensitive? I don't know. I mean, I'm torn by this column. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, I just wonder if the choice of the photo representing, like just giving this person, this terrible, terrible human, even because it applies to the column, even a cursory attention due to an image. I don't like showing it. It's a good idea. I think we all know what the man looked like and how people reacted to his presence with a offensive salute. So let's just not bring more attention to that, okay? David Lee Preston, of course, has his right to make any sort of opinion piece he like, but I think I'm going to be done reading it online, and you can go check it out yourself on PhiladelphiaInquirer.com. I mean, I can tell you he probably espouses some interesting or, thoughtful views that we can discuss and debate, which is the whole point of an opinion of editorial piece. So, knock yourself out if you want to learn more about it and see what he's got to say. Yay! We did it! We made it through another day. Boy, oh boy. Alright, well, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to get moving. I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the day. And we'll get back at it tomorrow. I do have like I said, the New York Times here. I may get to it later. later on tonight as I read, or today, but let's just wait and see. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later. Enjoy your day.